Donald Trump appears to be one step closer to ignoring, flouting what federal judges say the law is, even though that's what the Constitution assigns to federal judges and the judiciary, that they have the right to declare what the law is. But Donald Trump doesn't like those declarations, doesn't like those federal judges that have all issued over 20 different injunctions against him. And he just signed an executive order just today, one of 50 he has signed since the start of his administration. And in this one, he says it's only the United States president and its attorney general who can declare what the law is. Wrong.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Yeah, with that clip, I think we can honestly say that old number 47 has slipped over the edge of reality. He has issued an executive order that authorizes him and Pam Bondi, his new attorney general, as the only people who can interpret the law. That goes up against the separation of powers, and it takes away the legislative branch's authority in the federal judges to determine what really is law. It's been that way since the separation of powers was formed in the U.S. Constitution. But as number 47 would like to think, in his recent little joke Time magazine cover, Long Live the King, with him with a ridiculous-looking gold crown on his head, he honestly believes he's going in that direction now. We've talked about Donald's mental health before. We've talked about the fact that he lives in his own reality and the fact that he doesn't let the truth or reality itself impinge upon any of his things that he wants. He's issued so many executive orders that violate the U.S. Constitution that he is forcing the Supreme Court to become involved at a level unprecedented before. He's pushed the 14th Amendment to the brink of breaking. He wants to end birthright citizenship with the statement that he's made multiple times on different interviews and in different places that the United States is the only place that has a birthright. No, we aren't the only place that has a birthright law. There are 37 other countries that have variations of it around the world. You know, for you to say that we're the only country, you obviously don't know global politics or your Constitution. His executive orders ending the emergency funding, or FEMA, as most of us know it, is also unprecedented. It was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago that California started having some serious problems with wildfires. Anybody that's familiar with wildfires or has ever worked around them or fought them or even read about them and heard about them understands that when the fires go away and the rains come, even worse things come, like landslides. Well, California has managed to experience all of it within the last 2 weeks. They are in desperate need of FEMA money, but the president wants to put conditions on that. Here's a little clip that he did.
I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now, you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S.
Now, it's not bad enough that he does that and says that while he's standing in North Carolina issuing their relief under FEMA. And last week, we had a horrible incident in Kentucky that wiped out an entire area of Kentucky. And within 24 hours, Donald has approved the funding for that. He is acting like a monarch. He doesn't like this fiefdom, but he likes this one. This one can have the funds, this one can't. Ladies and gentlemen, if you were involved in pulling the lever for him, this is what you voted for. I hope you're happy. We've got another clip here of him repeating history, I guess you could say. It's a pattern with him in his disdain for Governor Newsom and the state of California. I'm going to play two clips here. What you're going to notice is that they aren't the same date, but they're the same topic. One was from 6 years ago and one was from just 4 weeks ago. I'm going to let you listen to that right here.
In California, by the
Yes,
way.
sir.
California's a mess.
We're giving billions and billions of dollars for forest fires in California. There's no reason for those fires to be like they are. They're leaving them dirty. It's a disgraceful thing. Old trees are sitting there rotting and dry, and instead of cleaning it up, they don't touch them. They leave them, and we end up with these massive fires that we're paying hundreds of billions of dollars for to fix, and the destruction is incredible. So I think California ought to get their act together and clean up their forests. There's been a lot of study going on over the last little while, and I will say I think you're going to have, hopefully this is going to be the last of these, because this was a really, really bad one. And I know Gavin's committed, we're all committed, I'm committed to make sure that we get all of this cleaned out and protected. We've got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forest.
Now, it's not bad enough that he's just blatant about everything. It's not bad enough that he is just defying the courts. He has now told the courts that he doesn't want to have to listen to them. He said only he can interpret the law. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we moved here 250 years ago to get away from a guy like that. Now he's just flagrantly flaunting the law in the court's faces. This is going to get pushed to the Supreme Court level, and we are going to be looking at very difficult decisions having to be made by Supreme Court Chief Justice Roberts, Justices Alito and Thomas, Justices Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, and the three, shall we say, left-leaning judges. We are going to see the 6 Supreme Court justices who side with him on a normal basis. We're going to see their limits put to test. The problem with what he is doing, pushing the limits, saying he is the only one that can interpret the law, will eventually turn on the U.S. Supreme Court. He will go up against them. He will try to dissolve them, and that will cause a constitutional crisis, as people have been worried about for the last decade. Now, he's pushing so far and so fast, and he's overturning so many carts so quickly that we're sometimes missing out on some of the things he's been doing. Besides the fact that he declares that he doesn't have to answer to the federal judges, which will end up costing him. The judges, again, as I spoke in another podcast, are already talking about having to form their own sheriffs and their own guard, their own marshal system, shall we say, to enact arrests and detainments for people defying federal court law. I'm 72 years old, folks. I've never seen anything like it. Well, the latest gag is that we've now got Elon, who, by Trump's own admission, is only a special advisor. He now wants to audit Fort Knox. Really? Well, first of all, yes, there's still gold in Fort Knox. There's a considerable amount in there, but it's not tied to the U.S. monetary system. In 1971, Richard Nixon removed us from the gold standard on our money system. We no longer have gold backing every dollar that's out there. I'm not even sure how much paper is in print, but as of 4:30 this afternoon, at a gold price of just under $3,000 an ounce, we have approximately $435,183,120,000 worth of gold. That's equivalent to just a little over 147 ounces of pure gold. That's sitting in Fort Knox. And Elon feels the need to go check up on it to make sure it's really there. He doesn't trust anybody. Geez, I wonder why nobody trusts him. Well, I've got a little hint for Elon. The U.S. Army's probably not going to allow him in. They're heavily armed. It's one of the most secure places on the planet, and it has its own police system. The U.S. Army and the U.S. Mint Police are there. They're not going to joke around with Elon. He's not going to be able to push his way past the door. But let's go back in history. He says it hasn't ever been audited. Well, I pulled up the facts today on it, and I was a little surprised to see that it's been audited on a semi-regular basis. It says, according to the Mint and the Mint Reserve people, that it was audited in 1974 by a group of journalists and Congress members. Now, the Congress members were Senator John Tower, a Republican from Texas, Representative Phil Crane, a Republican from Illinois, and Representative John Ruslot, a Republican representative from California, along with the U.S. Mint Director at the time, who was Mary Brooks. They toured it. They saw what they needed to see. They realized that everything was there. You know, the gold hasn't disappeared, the aliens haven't taken it, and Elon's not going to get it. Again, in 2017, there was a tour given by the Treasury Secretary, Stephen Mnuchin. He went in to verify that the gold was there. It's the most heavily guarded fort on U.S. soil, covered with advanced technology and covered with advanced photography equipment. No one's stealing anything. No one's taking the gold out. It's not being flown out by little Martians or by drones or secreted out in people's pockets. It's not happening. So why is Elon going in? Oh, yeah, that's because there's money there, and he wants to account for it. Why does he need to know what's in there? What is he planning on doing with it? Who's he planning on letting have that information? And who's going to help him get past the U.S. Army that's there? I'd really like to be a fly on the wall and see that one. Yeah, that figure that I gave you on the money, the $435 billion plus, that was approximately 4:30 this afternoon when I pulled the latest price on gold and then found out what the Mint is saying that's in there. You know, the amount that they claim is in there. Could be more, could be less. I'm not really sure. I'm sure that we move it around for the best advantage on the price of gold and whatnot. Now, that's going to be enough for Donald, but something did just happen as I was going in to record this. Enrique Tarrio, the former leader of the Proud Boys, was arrested today near the U.S. Capitol building on charges of simple assault. He was there giving a press conference along with, are you ready for this? Stuart Rhodes. He was given a press conference to indicate that he was going to start his own investigation of the January 6th events so that they could get down to the true facts. Let's whitewash history just a little bit more there, young boy. But anyways, there were a group of protesters there, and one of the protesters stuck a phone, well, obviously recording, in Tarrio's face to say something to him, and Tarrio slapped back, hitting both the phone and the woman. Capitol Police happened to be standing there, monitoring the situation, given the attendees, and took him into custody. There's no word on whether Rhodes was arrested. I do have a video clip here I'm going to play you for you now. Take a look at this.
You can't just touch people. You can't just touch people. You don't get to just put your hands on people. You don't get to come here and do whatever you want. You just assaulted me, and now you're getting arrested. Good fucking job, you idiot. You pathetic piece of Good job. You just assaulted me. Yeah, where's your mom? Where's Dooney?
So with Enrique Tarrio back in custody again, that makes Tarrio, Daniel Charles Ball, Andrew Quinton Take, Edward Kelly, and they're all back in custody. And unfortunately, a man named Matthew Huddle, who decided to have a gun battle with police, is now dead. All of those people were just released from the January 6th events. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up, folks. For my listeners who write to me on a regular basis, thank you, who pulled the wrong lever, in my opinion, don't say that this wasn't what you voted for. It's exactly what you voted for. You knew what he was going to do. Everyone suspected it, and you thought it was great. But now it's affecting you in the wrong way. You've lost your jobs. You've lost your security. You're not getting your EBT cards anymore. You're not on your Medicaid. All these little things that are happening because you elected him. For the rest of us, it's a ride, folks. We got to take this to the Supreme Court. We're going to watch this all occur in live time, and I'm going to be covering it every time the U.S. Supreme Court has to hear anything to do with number 47's reign of terror and his attempt at being the next monarch, the next dictator. With that, folks, thank you for listening. This went on a little long. I apologize. My listeners, thank you very much. My subscribers, thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful night and good night.